Hi, I'm Bhavna Appaya, Product Manager at Microsoft. Today, I will be walking you through some of the updates to the System Center suite, including System Center Operations Manager, aka Scom, Virtual Machine Manager, popularly known as VMM, and Data Protection Manager, also DPM. We have some exciting updates from new capabilities in System Center around managing heterogeneous data centers. So let's begin. As a portfolio of products itself, Microsoft System Center has been the data center management tool of choice for large enterprises for more than 15 years. System Center has something for all aspects of the data center, whether it's planning, deployment, protection, management, or automation. Some of the key capabilities include Operations Manager, Scom, which provides rich real-time health models and alerts for infrastructure monitoring, Virtual Machine Manager, VMM, that provides cutting-edge management capabilities at scale for Hyper-V and supports Azure Stack HCI, Data Protection Manager, and Microsoft Azure Backup Server, MABS, that provides industry-leading backup solutions for Windows, SQL Server, Hyper-V, and VMware virtual machines. Orchestrator provides integration packs for first-party and third-party services. Service Manager provides incident management, asset lifecycle management, and change management capabilities. And last but not the least, System Center Configuration Manager provides a comprehensive tool for change and configuration management. Data center management is complex with multiple components across compute, storage, and networking, yet vital for continuous operations of an organization. Since its release in 2008, Microsoft System Center has provided leading-edge capabilities that deliver a simplified management experience to keep you in control on premises, in the cloud, or across platforms. There are two long-term servicing channels, LTSC that is, release versions of System Center in market today. To help you stay updated on the infrastructure and management, we make continuous investments across all System Center components. We are thus excited to announce the next chapter in the System Center journey. System Center 2022 is now in preview. The preview adds lots of new features to products based on customer feedback. It also adds support for Windows Server 2022 and includes fixes for bugs encountered across the customer base. System Center 2022 will be generally available in Q1 2022. It will include 5 years of mainstream support and another 5 years of extended support. I would also like to call out that extended support for System Center 2012 R2 will end in July 2022. So it's time to start planning to upgrade to new System Center releases if you haven't already. Let us take a tour of the enhancements made with System Center 2022 and how they will benefit you. System Center 2022 is modeled around three themes, namely best-in-class data center operations, manage heterogeneous infrastructure, and modernize management with Azure. In a nutshell, you shall get simplified data center management and monitoring, whether on premises, in the cloud, or across platforms with System Center 2022. We recognize your long-standing investment in System Center technologies like Configurations Manager, Operations Manager, VM Manager, DPM, etc. At the same time, we also understand the evolution your data centers are going through, be it to the cloud or updates to the hardware-software systems. We aim to provide flexibility to pick and choose hardware, software in your environment as the business needs evolve, without needing to fragment the management stack or moving away from your existing System Center investments. We shall now look at key features in each of these themes. Data center operations is the heart of System Center value adds. With System Center 2022, we extend the limits under management and help you embrace organizational developments like DevOps. First, we have enhanced RBAC in Scom. In System Center Operations Manager, user roles help you assign permissions for access to monitoring data and perform various actions. User roles are applied to groups of users and are scoped to a group of monitored objects. Various personas that use Scom, such as infra team, different lines of businesses, application owners, and Scom admins, need to work in collaboration with each other to keep the infrastructure and applications up and running. With the advent of DevOps, the boundaries between the personas are shrinking. With Scom 2022, we introduce a new built-in role, Read-Only Administrator, that provides all the read permissions in Operations Manager, including reporting. Also added is a new Delegated Administrator profile, which is the read-only administrator profile without reporting. Creating a custom user role is now simpler with Delegated Administrator as the base profile, and then adding a category of permissions such as agent management, notification management, reporting permissions, etc. on top of it. Next, we have the MS Teams integration with Scom. MS Teams is a platform of choice for massive number of customers for their collaboration needs. Organizations interact with each other on Teams and users spend an ever-increasing time on it. Scom 2022 would support sending notifications to MS Teams, replacing the Skype for Business notifications. Next, ITOM compliant alerts closure. With Scom 2019, an alert that is generated by a monitor could not be closed unless the health state of the corresponding monitor is healthy. If you tried to close an alert generated by an unhealthy monitor, an error message appears, and the alert would not be closed. This behavior has now changed. With Operations Manager 2022, admin users can opt to choose the alert closure of a health monitor which is in an unhealthy state. Next, DPM 2022 removes the requirement of file catalog metadata which was needed to restore individual files and folders from the online recovery points. DPM now uses ISCSI-based approach for item level restore by default. This improves the backup time and restore experience. We also extend the maximum supported backup storage limit to 300 TBs. Currently, this is at 120 terabyte per DPM server. We strongly recommend to use tiered storage to get better performance, which is a combination of small amount of SSD and HDD storage. We are also excited to add dual stack support in VMM that now lets customers assign IPv4 and IPv6 address to SDN managed virtual machines. Next, we have some highlights of features that help unify management across diverse workloads. System Center is the best platform to manage your Windows Server 2022 and SQL Server infrastructure. This includes support for Scom 2022 installation on Windows Server 2022 and monitoring workloads running on Windows Server 2022. VMM provides support for managing Windows Server 2022 Hyper-V hosts along with the support for installation of DPM 2022 and protection of workloads running on Windows Server 2022. We understand that our customers have a diverse environment in terms of running workloads on Windows and on Linux. Linux monitoring is one of the core focus areas for us, and we are committed to making it better for enterprises of all sizes. Scom now supports Ubuntu 20, Oracle Linux 8, Debian 10, and Debian 11. Not just the Windows Server operating system, but System Center 2022 expands the support to Azure Stack HCI as well. Azure Stack HCI is the hyper-converged infrastructure operating system that runs on on-premises clusters with virtualized workloads. You can add, deploy, and manage Azure Stack HCI clusters in VMM 2022. The experience to manage Azure Stack HCI clusters in VMM are like that of managing Windows Server clusters, making it easier for you to adopt HCI without changing any of your internal processes. Scom also introduces the Azure Stack HCI Management Pack that focuses on the capabilities to monitor Azure Stack HCI scenarios for Hyper-V, Storage Spaces Direct, SDN, and failover clusters for Azure Stack HCI customers. The recently released Microsoft Azure Backup Server v3 provides the ability to back up workloads on HCI to the cloud as well. Next, DPM 2022 now adds support for backup of vSphere 7.0 in addition to vSphere 6.7 and 6.5 virtual machines. Also, we now support restore of more than one VMware virtual machine in parallel in DPM. By default, 8 VMs can be restored in parallel, but you can customize this limit as it suits you. Now we have a nice demo of HCI management highlights with System Center in action. As you start adopting Azure Stack HCI, we understand the heterogeneous need of customers where you will have a combination of both Windows Server and Azure Stack HCI based hosts in your data center. System Center suite of products offers consistent management experience of Hyper-V and HCI clusters in your heterogeneous data centers. VMM helps with the cluster deployment, Scom offers HCI monitoring, and Maps provides backup solution for Azure Stack HCI servers. I invited my colleague Molish to present a demo on Azure Stack HCI deployment using VMM.
Thanks, Bhavna. In this demo, we shall look at how VMM can be used to create Azure Stack HCI clusters. We have purchased one of the HCI verified servers and we want to add them to the existing data center that is managed with SCVMM and Scom. Backup for these clusters will be managed through Microsoft Azure Backup Server. Open your VMM console. In VMM console, navigate to Fabric tab and click on Add Resources and select Hyper-V host. Enter your credentials, search the Azure Stack HCI nodes by providing their host names. Azure Stack HCI nodes can be easily identified by looking at the operating system feed. Click on Finish to complete the process. Now you have successfully added Azure Stack HCI nodes to VMM. Let's now look at the steps to create the cluster. Under the Fabrics tab, click on Create Hyper-V Cluster. Provide the cluster name and make sure to enable Storage Spaces Direct checkbox. Enter your credentials. Add all the Azure Stack HCI hosts that are part of the cluster. You can also optionally specify DCP settings for the cluster. Click Finish. That's it. Azure Stack HCI cluster is now successfully created using VMM. The registration status of the cluster can be viewed by right-clicking the cluster and selecting Properties. Azure Stack HCI clusters must be registered with Azure to make full use of the functionalities. VMM native PowerShell commandlets can be used to register an Azure Stack HCI cluster. For VM creation, navigate to VMs and Services tab, select Create Virtual Machine. Select the VM template of your choice and provide a name to the virtual machine. Make sure to check the High Availability checkbox to deploy HA VMs. Based on the ratings, select the appropriate Azure Stack HCI target node for VM placement. Configure appropriate network switches and click on Create to create the virtual machine. To summarize, we onboarded a couple of Azure Stack HCI nodes to VMM, created an Azure Stack HCI cluster, activated the cluster with Azure registration, and deployed workloads on the cluster. Now I'll hand it over to Bhavna, who will talk about how you can monitor the HCI cluster with a brand new management pack.
The new Scom management pack for Azure Stack HCI provides health, performance, and usage insights about registered Azure Stack HCI clusters and related scenarios. In this demo, we pick up from where Molish left off. That is, VMM was used to create HCI nodes and clusters, and now we will see how the new Scom management pack can help in monitoring them. First, we begin by importing the HCI MPs into Scom. You can choose to use all or some of these MPs based on your requirements and workloads. The first version of the Azure Stack HCI MP will be a logical grouping of the following management packs, namely HCI, Base OS MP, Cluster Management MP, Hyper-V MP, Software Defined Networking MP, and Storage Spaces Direct Management Packs. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to import all these management packs, starting with the Base OS Management Pack. Let's get this installed. And then followed by the Cluster Management Pack, followed by the importing of the Hyper-V Management Pack, and then the SDN Management Pack, and lastly, the Storage Spaces Direct Management Pack. You will be prompted with the necessary corrective actions that you can take to address any issues or dependencies discovered by Scom while importing these management packs. Now that the management packs have been imported successfully, let's take a look at them on the left-hand side monitoring pane. This looks good. So let's now dig into some of the dashboards of these management packs. As you can see here in the Base OS dashboards, one can view the HCI details similar to what we had for the Windows Server OS. Here, for example, the OS and services are checked for status. You can also view all associated details. Everything looks healthy here. Next, we can see the health of the cluster shared volume that is accessible for all cluster nodes at the same time and managed in an automated mode. In the performance dashboard, we also see the network adapter utilization across the different nodes. Network adapters are monitored for aspects like number of bytes received, sent per second. In addition, the health state of the network adapter is evaluated and is set to healthy if connected and critical if disconnected. Also, aspects like disks are monitored and performance data is collected for average disk seconds per reading, per write, per transfer, etc. Next, let's jump into the cluster management related MP. It monitors cluster services and components such as nodes, networks, resources, and resource groups. This helps to report issues that can cause downtime or poor performance. Then we have the Hyper-V Management Pack. This monitors the Hyper-V role on HCI. It includes views for monitoring the virtual machines and their components running on the host computers, amongst other aspects. Then we have all the monitoring view and dashboards for the SDN and S2D MPs as well. In the interest of time, I will not go into details of all these dashboards. But for example, in the S2D MP, you can monitor health, performance data, and raise alerts for the fault events of disks, storage nodes, and storage pools, as you see here. By detecting, alerting on, and automatically responding to critical events and performance indicators, these management packs will reduce resolution times for issues and increase the overall availability and performance of your Azure Stack HCI environment. If you are interested in trying out the preview of this management pack, please do sign up in the link below. That's not all. We understand cloud is in itself a disruptor or an alternative to the data centers. It is common for system center customers to also be adopting cloud. Some of them are even shutting down the data centers and fully moving to the cloud. While a complete move to cloud is going to take time, we foresee the customers having a hybrid environment for the next few years. Their workloads would be split between on-prem and the cloud. One of the common asks we hear is for consistency of management experience and reuse of their existing investments. The customers want to continue to use their processes that are based on, for example, VMM, SCO, and monitoring rules in Scom. However, they want to have a consistent cloud based experience with minimum infrastructure to manage. Moreover, they want to leverage the advanced cloud services for governance of their entire fleet. We are aware of these asks and are working to provide system center functionality for a hybrid environment using Azure Arc and other means of connectivity. Lastly, do sign up for previews of all these exciting innovations coming up in System Center at the following link. Thanks for your time today. That's all I have for updates on System Center for now. But stay tuned for more coming soon.